Hello guys, it's Micah here, and in this video we're going to be going over drafting on the fly, adjusting based off of enemies' picks, and countering the enemies' picks based off of their champion's strengths and weaknesses. We're going to be using our pre-game and pre-draft preparation that we created over here. You can also create this on your own as well. The last video teaches you how to do this, and let's get started. So this is a mock draft example using prodraft.leagueoflegends.com. You can do this with your student, you can do this with your coach, you can do this with your players. It's a really good opportunity to learn how to draft on the fly. So ready, check. And in this situation, we can just do standard overpowered like picks for bans, or we can pick specific champion bans, like niche picks that players tend to main a lot. So for example, like there are a lot of like Riven players, and in this situation, we're just going to assume that people are just going to ban out random one tricks, and we're going to head into like kind of the main drafting phase. So like for example, like say you're playing against an 80 carry that has like 200 games on Kaisa, like that could be a very good ban, or a champion or a player that has like 500 games on Zed. Right? So for tournament play, you can either ban one tricks or you can ban overpowered meta picks. So specifically, there are certain like meta picks that can be overpowered sometimes. Like at one point, I know for jungle that Xin Zhao was very overpowered, but it's always meta by meta, and for this video, by the time you watch this, the meta might change. So we're just gonna use example one trick bans. So for first pick, you always want to pick a role that's pretty blindable, that you don't really get much for counter pick for. So that would be like the 80 carry role. So in this case, let's go for a very blind pickable Misfortune. There's not very much counter to Misfortune. She can act as a DPS carry, or she can act as like a just like a caster from afar with the ER ultimate combo. So you can rely on auto attack short range, or you can rely on long range with your ulti. Now the enemy team might decide to go for like heavy engage bot lane, just to kind of like try and counter that. So for example, they might go Ashe into like Leona. So at this point, we might be confused, like, what should we do on the Misfortune side? They have heavy engage. We definitely don't want to pick a range support. That would be really inting, because if we pick a range support, that'd be a squishy champion, another target for Ashe Leona, and then MF doesn't have any peel. So we definitely need appealing support, and specifically we want a support that can counter Leona. And perfectly we have Thresh, which is one of our comfort picks right here. In another example, you can also go like Nolus too. Just having a good tank, a disruptor, even Alistar is good in this case. You just need someone to soak up the CC. Alistar can soak up the Ashe Air, the Leona ulti, can knock away their damage. Then here we need another blind pick. Usually jungle is the next blind pickable role. So in this situation, Xin Zhao, very strong bruiser fighter, doesn't have very many counters. They'll probably pick either here. You have two options for red side, third pick. You can pick a mid lane and then ban 2, or you can pick top lane ban 2, or you just pick jungle and ban 2. So a lot of people make the mistake of not using these two bans well. For example, in this case, like they might actually go like Victor, right? They might go Victor and ban 2. They might ban 2 champions that are good against Victor. So for example, Kassadin, right? And then here we want, because they picked mid here, that leaves the jungle to ban. And so we need to pick champions that are good with Victor to ban. So specific champions that are good with Victor are 80 champions that have good setup. So let's think about that. Jarvan, really good combo with Victor because of the W cage, the lasers, the Victor ultimate. here they're probably going to ban another mid laner that's really good against Victor. So it's probably going to be like, let's say Ari. Ari can easily get on top of Victor with the Xin Zhao. And then here we need to ban another jungler that synergizes well with Victor. And if we just go through the list very simply, we want to deny like disruption based junglers that can engage for Victor. So like another example that could be Vi. It could be specifically like even a tank jungler like Zac if they have a Zac main. So in this case we're gonna do Vi because Vi with Leona, Ashe, Victor sounds pretty OP, and people are playing Vi more because of the Arcane series. And then here they're definitely gonna pick a really strong type of like disruption based jungler and someone that can also ideally match up against Xin Zhao's like aggression. So they might go Viego in this case, or they might just go a tank jungler like Zac, right? Just because like they just want a tank over here. But this is an obvious mistake from the enemy Zac, right? This is a good example for like how to counter based off of their fourth pick, because you have 2 picks to counter in the top lane here. And so in this specific example, even if your top laner doesn't even play, you know, Poppy here, Poppy is a really good counter to Zac because they have a dash jungler and a dash support. So now all of a sudden they have their engage comp. So we want to go disengage. We have disengage Thresh, disengage Poppy, and Xin Zhao is good for disruption. We want a mid laner that's mobile so they don't get trapped by the Zac. So out of this list, like we have, for example, we need an AP champion, and in this situation, I think if we're going based off of like this default list, we don't actually have a great option, as we notice like they banned out our mobile options. So that's why I made the enemy team a little bit too overpowered because I knew our strengths. But that in that situation, you can go ahead and play a mid laner that you might not be as comfortable with, but more OP in terms of the draft situation. So for example, instead of the Kayn, if we go through the list that's not banned, champions that are not banned, LeBlanc, for example, even if you're not like too familiar with Blanc, might be really good because LeBlanc, they will never land an Ashe ult, Leona ult, Victor, W, Zac, you know, jump on LeBlanc. Another mobile champion in the mid lane that will never get hit would be like Corki. You have the Valkyrie. Even champions like Syndra, really good against Zac and Leona. You can cancel the Zac jump. And then obviously this 5th pick on the red side will depend on what's here. So last pick would be jungle, or not jungle, but it would be top lane. And he would see a Poppy, and in this situation, he might just pick another tank, like Ornn for engage, or specifically Shen, because usually against Poppy, you don't necessarily want to like pick like Bruiser's top against like this type of team comp, especially when you have like a carry in Victor already. You don't need like another carry top lane. So this is a decent idea of how to mock draft. You just want to practice that part of drafting on the fly, and don't ever like be in a situation where you're kind of like trapped with, you know, not knowing what to pick. And this is where the draft, you know, pre-plan preparation comes into play. Hopefully, you know, mid lane specifically, you have more picks than this by like 4 or 5. Usually mid lane and top lane, you want more picks than this. Like we only have 6 here, right? You probably want like around like 8 if you're high elo. If you're lower elo, it's gonna be fine because they probably won't know specifically what to ban. they're probably not necessarily super strict on like, okay, we know that we're Victor, we need to ban out Cass and Ari. They might not know that matchup. They might just actually ban, you know, comfort picks. They might actually not even ban mid laners. There might be slip ups to be made. But if you're consistently playing against more competitive people, you want to expand your champion pool, especially if you're planning to pick near the end of the drafting phase. This is an important part. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a good one.